breaking down the technique of YoPiBa. So I'm going to take you step by step throughout the whole flow program so that you can understand better what you can do to get more out of this workout. So again, it's not what you do, it's how you do what you do. I want you to feel what a fully extended muscle feels like. So I like to begin by just letting your arm come out and let it be loose. Like if someone came and knocked it down, it's gonna go, like just nice and loose. And then I want you to go ahead and reach all the way through the fingertips and you begin to feel the muscles hug the bones, they lengthen. And then you can pull the energy right back from your fingertips into your heart. So now I have a very long arm. It's powerful. If someone came to move it, it's not going to go down. A fully extended muscle is not only strengthening, but very excellent for toning. There's a big difference between using muscles that are kind of extended and fully extended. To get the best benefit out of all of this workout, the more you can implement fully extended muscles, not just in your arms, but into your legs, into your core, everything lifting, all the muscles lifting towards the limbs in full length, the greater toning results you will gain. So we're going to go ahead and begin with our arm circles. Fully extended arms. Start first standing tall, feet together. Tailbone stretches down, groin lifts us up, femur bones float back slightly, and actually you can hold on to your hips and pull the ribs up. So it's not shoulders lifting, it's really getting long into your torso, like if there's an invisible center core lengthening and lifting as well as long legs. Arms, long arms. Shrug the shoulders right into the socket. Really keep them integrated. So my arms are powerfully long the whole time. We inhale, stretch up, and exhale, palms now press down and rotate out. Inhaling, lifting, and exhaling, releasing. And inhaling, and exhaling. It's an awesome way to tone all the muscles in your body as well as to warm them up. Going to side stretches, similar concept. Legs are going to be long, torso long, hips and shoulders stay square. You inhale, lengthen, exhale, slide to one side, extend out through the fingertips, long arm, long core, long legs, and then take your side stretch. Exhale, release down. Inhale, center. Centering is getting long. Remind yourself to lengthen up. It sets you up. Exhale, slide. Inhale, extend, stretch and reach, and breathe with it. And exhale down. So every time you take a movement, you want to go as far as you can, keeping muscles fully extended and right alignment. You'll feel the difference. Your body will show the difference. We continue our warm-up with letting yourself find a natural turnout with your feet. Feet fairly wide apart. As you stand tall, that nice tall, lifted, extended torso, the work is to press the thighs back standing tall. That's going to be your guide how far you can go. Relax the toes. So you're going to sink down and then just sweep the arms up. Inhale, lift, gaze up. Exhale, float down, warming up the body, inhaling. So it's circular movements with your arms. It's working the hips and psoas muscles as you press the thighs back. From there, we come into some yoga poses. You turn the back foot in, front foot straight, hips are to the side, long lift, long spine, long arms, everything fully extended. Femur bone in line with your second or third toe and take a big stretch. Keep the outer edge of your foot down so this leg is solid. You don't want to get weak into that back leg. Nice lifting. And then you come into your side stretch, hips and shoulders square, being careful you don't go crooked at all. And coming into your side angle, lift, angle, ground. Rotate the arm if you have space. When you start deepening it, you can start letting that arm reach down. And then we have a little back and forth, inhaling and exhaling. From there, we often come into a stretch. Both feet turned in. Instead of getting weak into those thighs, it's like the groin lifts up high, the upper thighs press away from each other. So you have powerful long legs. Yes, fully extended muscles into your legs and into your core. Roll the shoulders up and back, interlace your fingers, and the work is to actually pull the knuckles back so my shoulder tips start opening and rolling back. Be careful you don't sway into your lower back. So it's lifting core, long arms, pull the knuckles back, and then you can start hinging forward. And you open up the shoulders by getting the arms long, inhaling, lengthening, and exhale, let them go around. Always make sure your head and neck is relaxed, dangle it. and then you can grow with breath. When we come into our half lift, light fingertips, and instead of getting round here, it's stretching think of your front body getting long. Stretch the heart center away from your pubic bone, pull the belly in and up, so it's a slight extension. Lift the belly in and up, and keep that lift as you exhale and fold, as opposed to something that looks like this. Here you actually lock up the pelvis. It's not good for your internal organs, and you're not going to go that deep into your forward fold. This releases. It's like the ribs are going to be the part that touches your hips. And then we're going to come up and prepare for our leg and buttocks work with squats. So I like to start with the feet hip distance and straight, body aligned. And we add arm work here. You can add your biceps. If you use your biceps, again, it's fully extending the arm, pulling the arm up so you feel the bicep work as opposed to just kind of doing it. So if you want to add the biceps, pay attention to them. You can add them for part of it. You can continue all. If you like to add weights, feel free to add the weights. My feeling is if you really learn to work the body fully extended, bringing it up, it's incredible. It's incredibly effective to tone and strengthen the muscles. So we begin with sitting back, and then you lift one leg out. Exhale down, inhale, press through. Exhaling and lift through the sole of your foot. So try to get the leg long and it goes straight out. Then we take it back. Take the leg back, bend, lift. So everything tries to stay into one alignment. Your feet, your shoulders, your head lifting, pressing that thigh back and breathing. If you add the biceps, here we go. Okay, so really feeling it right into that gluteus muscle. You want to be careful when you lift that leg up that you keep the stretch in your lower back so you don't lift it and get sloppy and shorten here. This is always lifting in the front of your body, lifts and stretches here. This lengthens here, so when you lift the leg, it's perfectly safe. And you'll feel the difference. Anytime you feel anything in your lower back, the best thing to do is take a complete rest and maybe just hang into your ragdoll. Bend your knees, curl the tailbone, and release it rather than continuing putting pressure into any part of your body. Then we go into the bar work. And if you don't have a bar, you can use a chair, you can use a wall. You want to have something just really to support yourself. And whenever you reach your arms out, we want to practice keeping the sternum wide instead of rounding and overreaching and overstretching the back part of our shoulders and shortening the front. So this is nice and wide, the sternum open. Neck is always long. I always like to think like there's a hook at the crown of my head, lifting me tall and upright. So we'll go ahead and continue. We'll grab a chair, grab a ball, and I'll point out a few things that I'd like for you to be aware of when you start working with your chair work. When you work with a chair, try to find one that's high enough. I find about 37 inches is a great height. Something lower just doesn't give you the stability. Perhaps a counter. And if not, you can go to the wall and just let your hands float at about that height. Again, keeping the sternum wide. So begin with the setup of your feet. The feet will be parallel and straight to begin with. And we're going to take the ball, place it high above the inner thighs, and again, you're going to come back into parallel feet as you squeeze the ball. And we want to try to take the sway out of our lower back here. So this weakens my abdominal muscles. As you stretch the tailbone down and lift the belly in and up, you get more space between your vertebra in the lower back, which feels good, and you start working the core, which we do want to do the whole time. As you squeeze the ball, you start working the gluteus muscles and the inner thighs as well. So it is work, there's no doubt. That's why I always say it's better to do 8 of these correctly or maybe 2 of them correctly. Feel what you're doing and work up to the sequence where we continue on with the work. You can always take a break, but be aware of the alignment and you should feel it. So you're going to feet straight, hip distance, lengthen the core. Optional is to come into releve where you lift the heels up. If you do that, I want you to be super, super aware that you keep the heels centered. As soon as you start turning your feet out or one foot out, you can mess with your feet. It won't feel healthy for your feet, especially as you continue the movement. So feet are going to be hip distance and straight. Long spine, shoulders wide, arms about an arm distance. You can always soften elbows if you need to. Optional, lifting up the heels. You're going to lower down, squeezing the ball. The femur bones will stay straight. The belly lifts in and up. And then I like to add even more work to the core by exhaling, letting the pubic bone roll forward. So it kind of carves out here. It's not a tuck where you squeeze the gluteus. It's really softening, keep the length, soften the knees, and exhale, roll the pubic bone forward so you get right into the abdominal muscles, and we keep that shape. Then you can just squeeze the ball, work with squeezing it. Then we do little things like lifting, sinking down, knees over the ankle, lift up an inch and down an inch. Little movements. When you come up higher, you lose the work into the gluteus here. So small movements, long spine, pubic bone forward, and you lift up an inch and down an inch. Sink it down as far as you comfortably can. If you feel any discomfort in your knees, you may need to go farther or perhaps closer to the bar. Find the place where it's right for you so you can stay with it. And it's 8, 7, 6. C-shape happening, wide sternum, and we're squeezing the ball and we're lifting. The more you squeeze, the more you work more into the gluteus muscles as well as toning the thighs. When you come up, lengthen and lower down. When we move into our working more in the gluteus muscles, we go ahead and take a turnout. We call it first position in dance. The heels come together. You try to zip up the inner thighs and again, stand tall. Again, try to take that sway out of your tailbone. So it's always this lengthening of the core. Feel this action of lifting up with the abdominal muscles. We're going to bend the knees just slightly so the support leg will stay a little bit soft. The core is long, sternum wide, neck long, face soft. And now the work begins. By pressing this thigh back with holding the ball between your inner thighs, I want you to take that femur bone back and keep this hip forward. So I don't want that hip to go back. I want this hip to face forward. Press the thigh back, and then we lengthen the leg by keeping that thigh back and begin to stretch the heel down. It feels pretty awkward at first, but once you get it, you'll understand it. So again, start in your third position, long spine, bend your knees, keep that hip forward, take the weight to your support leg, let that femur bone go back without turning the hip. Hip faces forward, belly lifts in and up, thigh back, lengthen leg. Then we work with pressing the long leg back, pulling it in. And this is the one that is a little bit catchy to get. A little practice will do it for you. It's a little micro bend. So this femur bone is still back. Start with your long leg, femur bone back, hip forward, hip bone forward, thigh back, to soften the knee slightly and lengthen. So it's bend straight, little movements. Gets right into the buttocks and breathe with it. Okay, and then of course we do both sides. So take the time to break it down. Go a little bit slower, working with the technique that I just spoke of so that you feel it. And in the class, if when I start going to tempos a little bit too fast, take it a little bit slower at first until you're comfortable with the sensation that you need to create. And you will feel it here big time because you are lifting and changing the shape of your body. Wait till you feel it correctly, and then you can take it to tempo and stay with the amount of repetitions that we do in the challenging class. Okay, we're going to tone our arms now. I like to focus on the back of my arms, the triceps, because we don't tend to use them that much in life. Everything we do is kind of frontal. So the triceps. We talked about earlier feeling the full extension of the muscle, so the arms really long. This is true as we continue with all of our arm work. For your triceps, setup is feet are straight, hinging forward, bend your knees, lengthen out from the heart center to your belly button and feel the length. If this is not comfortable for you, an option is to go into your C shape. Pubic bone scoops forward, belly pulls in and up, and you can hinge forward. The main thing here is you want to let the arms be long and up. So as soon as you lift those arms up high, you're going to feel the triceps, the back of your arms work. As soon as I drop them, I release that work. That's why we try to keep the upper arms up high throughout all of this series. So you stand tall, again, either flat back or your C shape. You have to play with it and see what works best with you. If you're here, don't come into the flat back because you're just hunching here. You're losing any opportunity to strengthen the core. Come here, scoop it forward, feel it here, and just hinge forward. You'll gain more from it. Feet are straight, knees are soft, body's long, arms lift way up. Notice they're fully extended. My wrist is smooth. I'm going to lift them up and keep them high and just press up, little micro movements. Then you kind of do the same thing, pull it in. And then we combine, press up, pull in. Inhaling and exhaling. So always, again, that breathing. Okay, so really working the arms there. Then we do little micro bends and up. Try to keep the arms right behind the shoulders instead of letting elbows flare out or wider. The closer they are to your body, keeping up high, you're going to tone the triceps. And always soften your neck, so you don't want to look up. If anything, release your chin towards your chest and just release. Then we go deeper with the bending. We pull, pull, pull through and press, press, press up. And if you notice, I am working my triceps the whole time because I'm not allowing my upper arms to swing. If I swing them, I lose that work. So yes, your arms, your triceps are going to feel all of this work. You pull, pull, pull through, press, press, press up. Breathing. And again, as with anything, you're going to feel it more if you do 8 with full awareness than 20 just kind of going, okay? From there, often we come into long arms right below. Feel the muscles hug the bones. Feel your sternum be wide, so not hunching here. Really feeling the sternum wide, long arms. Already I'm toning my arms just by extending them out. This tones the muscles. Keep it long and bring it out and push it through. Inhaling and exhale back down. So I'm not releasing the work at all. I'm not kind of doing nothing. I feel it. I want you to experience it. Slow it down so you can feel it. Swimming, long arms. Reach, reach, reach. And exhale, reach, reach, reach. So stretching the muscles, breathing. And exhale. The core should stay steady. If you let your hips wobble at all, you lost the lift of the core. And then often you can just sort of relax and slowly come on up. And feel those arms be, wow, kind of really alivened and worked out. And then we will come to the ground and work our core. So you can grab your ball and come to the floor. And I'm just going to point out a few things with this. It's the C shape that you want to feel on the ground the whole time you're working the core. Working the core, the abdominal muscles, I like to teach you to feel what we refer to in Pilates as the C shape. It's really carving out the belly. And the most important thing is to lengthen the spine first. You cannot effectively tone the abdominal muscles if you don't create the length of uprightness first. So bring your hands next to your hips and get nice and tall. We take the ball and just put it close to the small of our back. Sometimes I'll cheat and just kind of use a thumb or of one hand or the other to keep it there. But the main thing I want you to feel here is long spine. And I want you to see as you exhale, it's a very delicate, the pubic bone rolls forward. The middle of the belly pulls back towards your spine. So you're really getting this carving out action. The heart goes forward, almost like someone's tugging me back at my waist. Pubic bone goes forward, and you really feel it. If you pull the middle of the belly back more, bring the heart forward more, scoop the pubic bone, I want you to feel it. As soon as you feel it, that's where you want to begin. So again, long spine, lengthen, exhale, carve it out a lot. Let the pubic bone roll forward, pull the middle of the belly back. Your upper spine comes forward, shoulders wide, neck comfortable. So you don't want to get into hunching or overreaching here. And once you do that, float it back, secure the ball by releasing back onto it. And then you keep the shape. The important thing is keep the shape, really pull the belly in and out, and then it's just little floating back and up. So I'm not changing the shape, I'm just changing the angle of where I'm moving. Exhale back and up. And so we keep the same shape when we bring an arm up, and then we start lifting to the side. Exhale, lift. Sometimes I'll have people cross their hands, keep the shape, and begin to twist. Exhaling. So you really feel that torso rotate instead of just arm swinging. So really, torso's changing. C shape, exhale up, come back to center, etc. Same thing when you go to the other side. Rotate that whole, so that whole torso is moving and keeping the C shape. If you don't feel it in your abdominal muscles, there's a good chance you're really just not doing it right. So you can come right back into sitting tall, feel the length, exhale, float back, and just stay with that. If the movement kind of messes you up, just start practicing strengthening the core by feeling that C shape float back. And then we move into long legs. It's the same sensation. So we won't need the ball. You can lengthen the legs and get nice and tall, long spine, and exhale, carve it out. So it's almost like I think about when you hike off of a big sailboat and they're counting on you. You want to hang off that boat, but you want to hold on, so bring the torso forward. Wide sternum. Again, be careful you don't do that. It will feel awful in your shoulders and neck. So it's very freeing and long into your neck and sternum wide. Float back and breathe. And then we start working with rolling all the way down. Now, if you cannot comfortably use your abdominal muscles to lift up, so you inhale and lift up, 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 I suggest you just start practicing rolling back here. Same thing when we start lifting the leg up, inhaling. If you use momentum to come up, don't. You could hurt your back. So it's really, what I would suggest is bending the knees, sit tall, long spine, feel the spine be long, and just start floating back here and pull the belly in towards your spine. Then you can release and lengthen that leg, sit tall, and float back. So if you're newer to this, I highly recommend that you start with this stage of your single leg lifts rather than going into the full movement, which is stretching, exhaling, lifting long spine, and perhaps even stretching the legs long, inhaling and exhale up. Then we go into the double leg lift where you sit tall, and actually this is where you're going to land. Belly lifts in and up. So I'm no longer in my C shape. I'm not here anymore. I'm into a long spine. You're sitting tall onto your sits bones. That's true for your single and double leg lifts. And breathe with it. Shoulders wide, neck free, belly lifts in and up. And just start staying here. If it's comfortable, then you can roll down, stretch, inhale, lengthen, and exhale, lift it up, controlled movements. From there, we come onto our abdominal muscles to actually stretch and lengthen out the muscles after you work them so hard. I know it's work and you guys are awesome. And just break it down. Break down so you feel each of these moves and then start going with the flow of things. We come onto our abdominal muscles and I want you to actually feel the length of your spine. So first just relax the upper body and lengthen the legs and let the top of the feet melt to the ground. And elbows are right underneath the shoulders. You can measure and make sure that's the right distance. Your fingers should just wrap around the elbows and then bring your arms out and palms to the ground. And rather than sagging in the lower back and kind of letting your belly hang out, this is how you can feel the lower abdominal muscles lift in and up. So you actually lift them up towards your heart and in towards your spine. And then you isometrically drag the elbows towards your hips, pulling the heart forward. So you should feel a nice stretch in the full length of the abdominal muscles as you do this. Legs are long. When we go into our kicks, you point, flex, and extend. Stretch the leg long and point, flex, and stretch. Often I'll see people kind of wobbling all which ways, and you are not utilizing the opportunity to strengthen your core when you do that. So just go back into the core strength of pulling the heart forward. You can even skip the leg work of pointing and flexing. The more you pull the heart forward. And of course, we're always breathing. When you come back down, I want to show some options here. You can first just bring the arms out and start lifting up. Maybe let the arms and legs float up. You might want the arms airplane lifting. What we do is we sometimes will come into a double leg kick where the hands rest on the small of your back. You turn your cheek, you press the elbows down, and you lengthen. The knuckles start pulling back, so my arms lengthen, shoulders pull back, legs stretch long, core is long, and then I let everything lift up. And you exhale, turn your cheek the other way. Make sure the head and neck is centered when you lift up. You can go into swimming from here. If swimming is challenging, start practicing with the opposite arm and leg lift. Inhale, right arm, left leg lifting up, and exhale down. Notice that my head and neck follows the arm that lifts up. So I'm not letting my head hang down, and I'm not sticking my neck up too much. So it's nice and smooth with my spine. Inhaling, lifting, exhale down, inhale other side. And if you're comfortable, you can stay up high and you swim. Again, the core should stay stable, so I'm not wobbling all over. And then you can come up and relax into a child's pose, release the back. Or come onto your hands and knees for spinal moves of cat and dog. Spread your hands, wrists over the shoulders, exhale into your cat. And inhale out and up into your dog. And you can go into curling the toes under and lift up and back into your downward dog. So here you want the spine nice and long. Don't worry about the legs right away, but lift hips up, pull them back, and get the spine really long. Almost like you soften through your heart and you lift through your belly, as opposed to rounding the heart here, hunching, and sagging in your lower back. The tailbone stretches up and back like a tall mountain. Coming onto your backs for some bridges. You want to let your feet be hip distance and straight and gently lie yourself down. I like to let the shoulder tips melt down to the ground instead of kind of rolling up here. Spine is long, base of my skull to the ground. Bring the feet close to your buttocks. Place the ball high above your inner thighs. Squeeze the ball, feet straight, ground the feet, and then you begin to lift up. I like to first start in a plank position, so not lifting up into a bridge, but actually more of a plank where the body's long, and just squeeze the ball. Squeeze, 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 release. So you start working the inner thighs and the gluteus muscles. Then we add a very delicate squeezing of the buttocks and lifting up. So now it's squeezing the buttocks and lifting up. Then we can add a little pelvic roll. It's different than the squeezing of the buttocks. It's getting to the abdominal muscles more than the gluteus squeezing. You can sweep to the side. Hip movement. And then gently you'll come down, release the ball, and we're going to come hug our knees, roll to your side, and we'll come up for some stretching. It's always nice to stretch after you work the muscles, super important. It's a nice time, your muscles are warm. So I like to begin with a wide straddle. And most importantly is to sit tall, nice lift into your spine. And if this is challenging, what I recommend is taking a blanket or two and putting it underneath your buttocks so you can lift the hips higher, it will be more comfortable. If worse comes to worse and you're really tight in your hamstrings or lower back, it's fine to bend the knees, but try to keep the legs aligned. So instead of letting your feet turn all which ways and your femur bones turn out, try to keep everything lifting up to the sky, the knees and feet up to the sky. Sit tall. And what I like to teach people is the spine as long as you hinge forward. Everyone likes to go deeper by hunching and rounding and reaching, and it feels awful after a while. And oddly enough, you lock up that pelvic area and actually squishes the internal organs. So think about getting lift in space for the internal organs and maintaining that space as you exhale and hinge forward. So it's a healthier stretch if you can let your spine be long as you ease on down. When we come into our side stretches, the torso will rotate and you just stretch over to one side. Again, instead of reaching and hunching and working too hard, keep this wide and just hinge right at the crease of your hip. Neck is soft. When we come into our opening of the heart, you can either bring your hand or forearm down. And I like to first actually feel the heart lift up to the sky. So you're really rotating to that whole torso. Extend the arm. So instead of letting the arm just come overhead and kind of letting that shoulder drop forward and collapse, get space, lift up, open up. Let it feel awesome, like these great openings. You got to breathe. And if you have space in your shoulders, then you can rotate and bring the arm overhead. So everything should feel good. And of course, we always do both sides. So long spine, rotate to the other side, hinging forward, keeping the space for the internal organs as you hinge forward. And again, that whole torso revolves when you come into your side stretch here. And I like to finish with a nice deep forward fold because it's very surrendering, very soothing. The legs extend, you sit tall. And again, long spine going forward as opposed to hinging at the hips and kind of feeling awful about all of this. And speaking of feeling awful, it's all what you put into your mind. So the more you actually let your body thank you for stretching, instead of letting it be torture, breathe into it. Feel the sensations and enjoy it. It shifts everything. The breathing is super important as you stretch. So you're going to inhaling and little by little allow the body to just surrender down. Keep the feet centered. Try not to let them turn out and just ease down. I let my hands float so they're touching the ground rather than mid-air. Shoulders wide and just surrender. And then you will ease up. And there's not a muscle in your body that you did not work in every possible way of increasing strength, balance in the body, and increasing your flexibility. So I'm sure your body feels this. And I'm so happy that you're taking the time to care for yourself.